you start questioning your own choices, questioning and adapting. If everyone's saying that the law career would be better for you, then maybe it is. Maybe going to law school is a good idea. Until you're looking up how to change careers when you're 42. Have you ever felt like changing makes people behave like you're stabbing them in their backs? You don't even have to make any huge shifts. You just leave when someone is late for a meeting. You're 10 minutes late? Okay, I can give you another 5, but after that, I'm leaving. And when you actually do leave for the first time, oh, how could you do that? You didn't wait for me. I was on my way. But it's like, girl, I have my own life to live. Calm down. It's not about you. And all you did was making a small change. But around people who know you best. So now you're the bad guy. And there's a reason for that. I've been there. I felt almost guilty for changing and doing the thing that I actually want to do. When I would tell people about it, it would really make me cringe. And the reactions I got? Okay, I never thought you'd be doing that. But you could hear that disapproval in their voice. And only a month later, when I was actually back to my original thing, I could hear what they were really thinking back then. Because then I was getting, thank God, you're you again. Like a relief. And that crazy thing I was doing that was so hard to accept, I was baking sourdough. Literally. And you know what? They could have acted like I was doing something wrong. But now, my sourdough comes out perfectly. And I get to eat it, not them. But I didn't fit into a box anymore. Not my box. Theirs. The sourdough was a very simple life change example. But we go through major life changes. And when we don't understand people's reactions, when we're not ready for them, when we don't filter them, we are doing ourselves a huge disservice, even before making any decision. What if you're making a career change and you start asking people for their opinion? You might be one of the lucky ones and actually have supportive people around you. By the way, if you are one of the lucky ones, I personally think that you've already won, at least in that regard. But you might not be so lucky. And then, here we go. You'll hear all kinds of opinions. Oh, but this is not for you. This is not gonna work. But you've never done this before. Of course I've never done this before. That's why it's called making a change. Get on board. But the change throws you out of the box. We're gonna talk about that box in a second, but you hear all of these opinions, and what? They're just noise. But are they? Why wouldn't you listen to your best friend who wants all the best for you? Why wouldn't you listen to your parents who are always on your side? If they don't see your change as something positive, then maybe you are doing something wrong. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. Maybe you should go back to the way it was. If you're making a huge career change, there's a good chance you're asking everyone for their opinion. No, there are two obvious ways to get the most valuable opinion. either from a person who's done exactly the same thing that you want to do, or from a person that is in a place where you want to get to. Everyone else has their own voice, and it's just that, their voice, based on their life, based on their experiences, based on their limitations, and based on their boxes. Every person that knows you has a box for you. You can be in a neighbor box. The neighbor doesn't care about you. You can be in a friend box. The friend does care. You can be in a family box, relationship box, employee box, etc. Whatever role you play in other people's lives. And that's the core. The bigger your role is, the more people are going to act like your life is their business. And every one of them has expectations of you, depending on what your role is. So here we have our boxes. But the boxes aren't the problem. That's how we make sense of people. It starts being a problem, though, when you want to step outside of your box and other people are trying to pull you back inside. So you going ahead and changing? The question that pops up in their heads, conscious or not, is how is it going to affect my life? Surprisingly, your friends are the first ones to do this. Not your real friends, but friends. People you spend time with, talk to. Suddenly, your life becomes a community project. You ask one friend and you hear, "Oh no, you shouldn't be doing this. I don't know. This is tricky. You're this, and you're that, and you deserve better, and you shouldn't be changing. You're perfect. You're just the way that you're supposed to be." Your life's a democracy. Everything's up for a vote. Do you stay in this relationship or do you leave? Do you change the job or do you stay? Do you move out? Do you not? Do you have kids? Do you not? But how can you know for sure what's the motivation behind all of this support? Maybe your work friend doesn't want you applying for that promotion. Because if you get it, who is she gonna talk to? Maybe your other friend doesn't want you to be in a relationship because who is she gonna hang out with on a Friday night? No one's gonna tell you exactly in that moment what their motivation is behind the advice they're giving you. But most of the time, two things stand out. One, what your role is in their lives and how it is going to change when you change. And two, what image of you they have in their heads and if that image fits the box they put you in. So what does asking everyone for their opinion do for you? It gives you permission to delegate the whole decision-making process outside. No? It's just opinions? Well, if that's the case, you can consider yourself a lucky one. Lucky for lack of space in this video to dive deeper into luck. If you can see that their opinion is about them, based on their life, their own experience, you might just appreciate the opinion and not let it direct your life. It starts being a problem when instead of asking for an opinion, you are asking for an approval. And when you don't get it, that's where it gets tricky. You constantly hear you've made the wrong choice, you've gone crazy, you made the wrong decision. Oh, and try complaining about anything. You'll never hear the end of it. it's hard to adapt to a new place, well, then obviously you made the wrong choice. But that's not even the problem. The problem is if you start taking these voices as evidence that maybe you did make a wrong choice. Maybe they all are right. Because yes, adapting to a new place is hard, by definition. But maybe they were right. Maybe I don't see something. You stop looking through your own eyes and start looking through theirs. You start questioning your own choices. Questioning and adapting. If everyone's saying that the law career would be better for you, then maybe it is. Maybe going to law school is a good idea. Until you're looking up how to change careers when you're 42. But then again, maybe people have their own motivation for directing your life. What if they are not protecting you? They are protecting the role you had in their lives. When you were a lawyer, they could come to you for help, for advice. But now that you're in marketing, what are they gonna come for? You don't serve the purpose anymore. Your change just disrupted someone else's life. So obviously, if you're changing the role, they are going to act like you betrayed them. Because in a sense, you did. And all of a sudden, everyone acting like your choice, your change is about them makes more sense. So maybe it would be worth to check who's yelling the loudest how you made a bad decision. Because if you find them, then there's a question to ask. If I follow their advice, whose life gets easier?